The Development Finance Corporation held a ceremony in Belize City to celebrate 60 years of service to the nation. The ebb and flow of the institution's investment portfolio since its inception tells its own story.
We started off in 1974 with $6 million. And during our peak time, it was at $312 million. And we're gradually going back up at $144 million. So our aim of doubling the portfolio is not far-fetched, because if we do it right in the next 3 years, we can possibly double it from that 144.
It wasn't until 10 years into its existence that D.F.C became a financial institution for the government of Belize. Since then, D.F.C has been steering in tandem with government's development priorities. Arguably one of the most challenging times for the institution was in 2004 under the People's United Party. The D.F.C's investment portfolio was at its highest value, with significant investments in housing schemes, student loans, and agriculture. Not long after, D.F.C was on the brink of being liquidated, and a commission of inquiry was launched into its operations in 2005.
There was the amendment in 2006 of the D.F.C Act. The D.F.C returned the soybean processing plant to the government, and there was a revaluation of assets for resale.
In 2009, the United Democratic Party made an amendment to the D.F.C Act. They placed emphasis on agriculture as well as micro and small enterprise investments. But in 2017, D.F.C's figures once again began to decline. The People's United Party returned to government in 2020.
The laws that were passed then to strengthen or to ensure that the D.F.C can remain quote-unquote alive, they were too stringent. They were on a straitjacket. So it was the D.F.C was unable to be able to provide the necessary services that a development bank needs to be able to give. And so from 2011 up to 2020, the D.F.C was practically losing money. It's not because of the management, but simply because the way the previous government amended the act of the D.F.C, they were unable to provide the necessary service. Mrs. Goff and her staff realized what was necessary to fix it.
The PUP also amended the act after taking office. Prime Minister Briceño says the dark days at the institution have taught his administration some valuable lessons.
The lessons that we have learned is that one, the D.F.C, like every other financial institution, should not just be lending for lending's sake because somebody wants to make a loan. We have to make sure that the loan is also financially viable, that is stable, that we'll be able to pay. Secondly, we have to minimize the political interference within the operations of the D.F.C. And thirdly, I think also we have to ensure also that it's not only the political director that has to be held accountable, but even the employees have to be held accountable, that if they participate in a fraudulent loan or a loan that was obviously should have never been approved, that they could also be held accountable. By doing that, then we could ensure that the D.F.C remains a stable institution.
Prime Minister Briceño contends that the D.F.C is in a much stronger position than it has ever been in its history. But is there too much political influence in the affairs of the D.F.C's operations? The board of directors consists of 3 government representatives, 5 private sector representatives, and a chairman appointed by the Prime Minister. We asked D.F.C CEO Henry Anderson, who started back in 2021 as chairman.
I will give you my personal experience. When I got a call, I was the general manager for BC at the time, and Minister Koy called and said the Prime Minister would like to ask you to chair the D.F.C. Would you do it? Michael Bowen, who was my boss at the time, said go ahead. And so I started. When I met with the Prime Minister and Minister Koy, there was a simple instruction, and I said it today: improve the quality of service and run the thing like a business so it does not lose money. That is it. I have never gotten any phone call to any nonsense or anything like that. So I understand that back many years ago, D.F.C had a problem. But as Mrs. Renault said and as Mrs. Bennett said, that out of problems comes opportunity. And the silver lining that has come is DFC has a very modernized and solid governance structure.
And when we put the same question to Prime Minister Briceño, he said that even as Deputy Prime Minister under former Prime Minister Said Musa, he had never written a note to DFC to lend money to anyone.
The Belize Development Corporation is quote-unquote owned by the government. And they need to work in tandem with the policies of the government of the day. But it is done in such a way that the government does not have a majority on the board. So they are there to be able to present, well, this is the direction of the government. But the days are long gone where a minister can send a note and give Paul one loan or give this one a loan. That does not happen anymore. And even if they were to attempt to do that, it plays no role in the decision making of the loans. For instance, I've never sent any note, even from the first time when I was Deputy Prime Minister, to note any kind of notes to lend money to anybody. That has stopped.
Because
they do not have that kind of interference in the operations of the DFC, and that is why you're seeing that kind of growth.
So the reports coming out of today's event is that the DFC at 60 is operating as an example in the region with the most diverse investment portfolio since its inception, greater transparency, and a robust management structure. Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.